A little scattered today. My God, let's get started. Good morning. I'm Liz and I like to knit, and this is a knitting podcast. For those of you who are new here, I am a part-time knitter, full-time research coordinator. I like to talk about the things I'm working on, the things I've recently finished, and the things I want to cast on in the near future. And today I have one finished object and a couple whips to talk about. I actually have my entire whip set up at the moment, so it won't take too long, I promise. But let's get into it. So I guess I actually usually start with what I'm wearing. And unfortunately today I'm not wearing my finished object, even though it is a garment, but it was just a little bit too chilly this morning for it. So I am wearing my Bright Side by Espace Tricot. This I've shown on this channel before, but this is knit in one strand of the Retrosaria Rosa Pomar Mondim, so like the original dye, not the one that's done by La Bien-Aimée. And the number for this colorway is 308, and I love it. And then the strand it's held with is the Purl Soho Tussock, which is just kind of a standard silk mohair in their Balsam green colorway. And it does marl just a little bit. The Balsam green, ooh, you can see it's pilling a little bit too. Not too bad. I wear this a lot. But you can see that it marls just a smidgen. I knit this on primarily a US 7 needle and then a US 6 for the ribbing, so 4.0 and 4.5 millimeter needles. And I knit the size 2, and I have about 37, 38 inch bust, depending on the day. So yeah, the only modifications I made to this is it does call for a twisted rib, and I opted for just a normal rib, but I knit the same lengths. And then this is a modified raglan. It's not like a compound raglan where you're changing rates very much, but it is modified in the sense that you're adding stitches. It's knit top down. You're adding stitches to the body and the sleeve at different rates. It is a free pattern, so I don't feel bad telling you. And then for the pattern, it does not call for a folded neckline. You just pick up and you knit straight down. Super easy. Can't recommend it enough. I ended up casting on like where just after the neckline would be, knitting the body, and then coming back and picking up stitches and knitting twice the length called for and whip stitching it down. So I just wanted a slightly narrower neckline, and it looked like the kind of, they call it a ballet neck in the pattern. It looked like it would stretch out a little bit more than I wanted. So that's where that came from. I really like this. Pardon my pajama pants, but I get so much wear out of this. It really probably is my favorite sweater, at least by wear standards. Alrighty, let's move into the fun stuff. I have a finished object this week. It was cutting it close. I finished it 2 days ago, blocked it, and sewed the buttons on last night. So I did sew the buttons on though. This finished object is my Elton by Locatelli. And I'm so excited about it. Here, I'm gonna take a second to put it on. Boop. All right. I love this so much. This is definitely a different fit than most garments that I own. It is kind of the standard, like, boxy, a little bit oversized, and then has the very fitted sleeves. And you know what? I like it. I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought that the fit would be my least favorite part of it, but it's lovely. It is, like I said, the Elton by Locatelli, which you've probably seen before. A lot of people have knit this pattern, and why would you not? She does have a couple of other patterns out that have this striping. There's a pullover version of this exact sweater, and then she just released kind of a longer version of this. I forget what it's called, but I'll put it down below. And it is knit with a sport weight and a mohair, versus this calls for a singles fingering and a mohair. I did not use a singles yarn. I used nylon embedded superwash sock yarn, and it worked out just fine. This is knit in the Lana Grossa Silkhair Haze Degrade. Still not sure if I'm saying that right, but I know I got all the words right at least. And I used 1 ball of this out of 3 that I bought on a sale. And like the point of this sweater was to use up this yarn. And I still have this much left of the first ball. So if y'all got pattern recommendations for, I don't know, I think what I want is something that's going to be like a very loose gauge that I can hold the strands double, because it does change a little bit in color throughout. Like you can see some of these stripes, like this one, ooh, balance. This one is a deeper purple than like these. And I think if I were to knit it single stranded, I would notice that pooling, and I don't want that. So if I can hold it double stranded, I think that it would look more like a watercolor painting and less like pooling mohair, you know? So still on the lookout for what to do with the other 2 50-gram mohair balls. But that's okay. I like it in this application. The other yarn that I used was the Kim Dyes Yarn Sourdough Sock in the tan tartan colorway. And I had 2 skeins of that, and I have this much left. This is going to go in my scraps. I am planning, I don't know if I'll have a video out next week. I was trying to do non-podcast videos every week, and just with work has been very busy lately. I mentioned the last podcast episode that we are moving house, which is very exciting. I'm going to be a homeowner, but that's been a lot of extra stuff on my plate, so I might not have a non-podcast episode next week. I hope that's okay with people. There's plenty of other knitting content on the internet. I consume a lot of it, so I know it's there. But what was I saying? But this is the Kim Dyes Yarn Sourdough Sock in the tan tartan colorway, which is the like local yarn store colorway for June 2023. And I happened upon this by accident. I don't know if you can still get this. I bought it at my local yarn store, but I do love it, and I think it's even better knit up. Like in the skein, you can see that it has like it's like a pinky taupe, and then it has little pops of like peach and purple and deep blue, kind of like a steel blue gray. And here it just looks kind of like, I don't know, it's like a funfetti, but it's not crazy. Just really enjoying it. But yeah, I have a lot of leftovers of these. This is, like I was saying, gonna go in my scrap haul. I do want to make a video of all of my scraps from my stash. I did make a scrappy pattern video, and so I have a lot of ideas, and I need to kind of put some stuff together because I'm very excited about that. Not like I have enough other things that I want to knit right now, but we'll get to that. Last time I showed you this, the body was still unfinished. I think I was maybe like here-ish, like I was almost done with the body, but I hadn't quite finished it. And I don't think I'd blocked it yet. I was about to block it, I believe. But basically I blocked it, went good, perfect length, added the bottom ribbing, and that was about when I had to switch to my new skein of the Kim Dyes Yarn Sourdough Sock. And I'm glad that it happened when it did, because I do think that this skein, the one that I did all the edging and the sleeves and the bottom ribbing in, is just a little bit darker than the one that I did the body striping in. And because of where that change occurred, I'm not worried about it. But I think had it occurred like in the middle of the body, or like I had one sleeve that was in one skein and the other. Anyway, I think this is a great pattern to use hand-dyed sock yarn on, especially if you aren't sure that it's going to like match perfectly, because the striping gives you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And then if you use pretty much the majority of one skein in the body and then move on to all of the finishings and the sleeves in another skein, I really think it worked out very well. I think it looks extremely nice. I'm not bothered by it. The other thing was I was so worried about these pickups. So you're picking up stitches from the body here and knitting down on the sleeves, and then you're picking up stitches, of course, for all of the finishing edges. And I was nervous because you are carrying one of these strands of yarn every time you switch. She suggests you carry it alongside. And I could definitely tell that I was kind of pulling a little bit of weird tension, and just like with the difference between the weights, and I could tell that it wasn't as clean of an edge as my normal self edge is when I'm going to pick up stitches. I need not have worried. It went so easily. Like, I think part of it is that I'm about to give you like details, but they're modification details. I'm not going to tell you what she actually wrote in the pattern because this is a paid for pattern. But the only thing that I had to pick up twice was one of the sleeves, just the first sleeve I picked up twice. Cast on with the recommended pickup rate. And I love it when designers do that, when they don't just say like, pick up this many stitches, and they say like, it's going to be approximately this many out of this many stitches. Love that. And how he does that, but I did not use the recommendation that she gave. The right amount for me and for my gauge with how I was picking up and with the needles that I used and the way I knit, all those fun personal factors, was about 3 pickups for every 4 stitches. And honestly, I use that for the sleeves, I use that for the button band, I use that for the neckline, other than for the stitches along the back where I did 1-to-1. It just worked out perfectly that way for me. And the great thing about that is that every one of these rows is 4 rows of that color. And so even if my stuff was a little bit scrunched, if like I had one of the stitches that I was needing to pick up from that I'd pulled really tight, I knew as long as I got 3 in that color that I had done it right. So easy. Yeah, highly recommend. It was way less convoluted, way simpler than I thought it was going to be. Don't really know why I was worried about it. Other than that, the only modifications that I made to this, and I mentioned this in the last one, is I did knit the sleeves just a little bit wider, and I did pick up just slightly more stitches than recommended for my size. And I think it fits perfectly. Would definitely make that modification again. And then I switched, there's some short row shaping up here in the shoulder, and it's written with wrap and turns, and I just switched that to German short rows because I like how they look. I did really like how she writes the button band for this. I'm so used, I think like the last couple cardigans I've done have been a double knit button band that you like pick up and then you're knitting back and forth the whole time, which is a slog. I do love how those look. This one is so simple. So you're picking up this side, hold on. Nope, you're picking up this side, the one that the buttons are sewn onto. You're knitting that, and then you're picking up the side with the buttonholes in it, and then you're casting both of those off. I used tubular bind offs for everything in this sweater. That was recommended, but she also included that you don't have to do that if that's not something you are into. I feel like this was a lot of tubular bind off. If you are not used to doing a tubular bind off, I would probably practice on something else first. But I kind of got in the rhythm of it. I'm not bothered by Kitchener or tubular like sewn bind offs myself. But all of these were knit with the tubular bind off with just 2 setup rows, and everything is just like so nicely stretchy, comes back into place because the Superwash sock yarn, it blocked out to exactly how like the dimensions needed to be. Love it. But yeah, I really liked how she did the button band. These are basically, it's got a yarn over in there, and then you just knit the rest of it as normal. So it was super easy. Buttons fit through just fine. I posted this on my Instagram and kind of joked like, how long do you think it's going to take me to get the buttons on? And only one person guessed, and it was one of my non-knitting like in real life friends, and she was the closest. She did say about 7 days to knit the cardigan and 8 weeks to put the buttons on, and I felt very seen by that. I don't think I'm the only one who does that, but I do feel like why wait? Like, it's just one more finishing thing. You've already done all of the pickups for the bands and everything. Might as well just put the frickin' buttons on, Elizabeth. And I did. I really like these. I got these thrifted. I don't ever know where to get buttons. Like, I have some things in my stash that I bought off of Etsy a while back. Occasionally I'll buy stuff from like my big box craft store, but honestly, my favorite place to go for buttons is the like crafting thrift store by my house. I really want to make a sweater with like mismatched buttons, and I think that this one had the potential to be right for that, but I just found this pack of 8. I only used 7 for my size. If you had a larger size, you might need 8 buttons, but I like them. They're just very plain. They'll be easy to wash. I did sew these on with the sock yarn. I don't normally do that. Typically, I will use like an actual thread, or I will hold the yarn and thread together. That is because I'm typically knitting in non-sock yarn for garments, but this had that nylon component, so I knew I wasn't going to like pull it too tight and snap it. And to be honest, I think I'm going to be extremely gentle with this, just because I get nervous blocking things that are like single strand mohair by itself, because it's just so easy to just be like. So this is not going to get washed aggressively. I'm not worried about the buttons coming off. But yeah, I think that that's about all I wanted to say with this. It did take me like 1.5 months to make, so kind of wish it would have gone a little bit faster, but also I'm not needing it yet. I'm going to put my other sweater that's more appropriate for the current weather back on in just a second. Sorry, my husband called. But yeah, I'm not needing this today. Like, it's mohair, which tends to feel a lot warmer than it is for its weight, but this is breezy. Like, I can feel airflow through this just doing that, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be really cute over, like, I have like a little cropped high-necked black dress that I think this will go really good with. I think it'll look cute with jeans. I think it'll look cute. It's just cute. I think it's just cute. So 10 out of 10, would make again, worth the 1.5 months. And last thing, I really am just kicking myself that I didn't really have good like before and after blocking photos for this, because I blocked it halfway through to get like the length of the body. This sweater, as someone who doesn't knit a lot of lace, I don't get a lot of that like before and after blocking porn sort of like vibes that people really, really go for online. But this would have had that. And if I make another one of these, I will just trust my gauge from this one. I will knit this exact same everything to pattern, and then I will block it all at the end so that I can get before and after photos, because so satisfying. Literally, like, everything smooths out. This was like bumpy and almost looked like, yeah, it's just extremely satisfying to block. All right, that's everything about this one. Can't tell you how excited I am to have it. I don't think I actually stood up. It's not that long, and it doesn't go with my plaid pajama pants, but it's just nice. I'm realizing from a distance, you can kind of tell where that darker mohair stripe is based on how that color falls. And it almost looks like there's like a couple of light stripes and then no striping, and a couple of light stripes and then no striping. And I kind of like that. I'm not disappointed by that. But see what I mean? Light stripe, dark stripe, light stripe, dark stripe. That's a tongue twister. And I didn't do it right, but you get the idea. Okay, moving on to my whips. So I'm not a person who has a lot of whips at any given time, and that is not super true right now, I think, in comparison to a lot of other knitters. I live in a small apartment. If I leave my stuff unattended for too long, my cats will destroy it, so I'm just lucky that they don't destroy finished objects, honestly. But a stray ball of yarn is prime prey for my younger cat. So I try not to have too many on the go. But right now I have 3, which is okay. Not upset by it. And I have been working on all 3 of them since the last time I talked to you. The one that I really should have done by now is this hat. This is the Ribbed Beanie by Emily Bolduan. And I have knit this in Lion Brand Superwash Merino, which is a DK yarn. This is going to be a gift for my sister and brother-in-law, just to add to their hat stash. And this pattern, the reason I say I should be done with it by now is because I hit the length that they recommend a while ago. I think that they only have you knit to like 18 centimeters and then you start the decreases. But in the pattern photos, I'll put one up. The brim is not as long as I want it to be. And like where they're showing it on the guy, like it doesn't even cover his whole ear. I want it to be, can go to the bottom of your ear and still have like at least 3 inches of fold. And so that's where I'm at right now. I am almost to like 10 inches of length on this, and I think that's going to be good. I have extra yarn from this because I mentioned this last time. This hat was another hat, and then I decided I didn't like it and I ripped it out. So this is the entirety of the yarn that was in that first hat, and I have another ball about this size. So part of me is like, use up as much of it as you can. They can just fold it double if they want a shorter hat. But I think I'm just going to make it the exact way that I would like to style it and then leave it in their hands. So I think I'm going to get to 10.5 inches and then go ahead and start the decreases. And I will almost certainly have this to show you next time. And if not, it's because I broke both my hands. Like, I don't know what could stop me at this point. The next the next whip I have for you is probably going to be the next big focus. This is my Birch Pullover by Andrea Mowry, and I started this in November. This has been a whip since this podcast started, so you might have seen this before. I have put a little bit of work on it. Yeah, it's not too bad. That is the last time I showed it, so the thing that was holding me back is that this is a great like mindless on the go project right now. It was attached to a cone, and I finally just bit the bullet and wound off a skein of that cone so that I can actually take this with me places. And it has been great socializing knitting. I took it to lunch with some friends last weekend and just kind of like sat while we were waiting for our food and worked on it. It's been in my work bag. It's gone to work with me. Not that I've had that much meeting time to knit on it, but like a little bit and like over lunch and stuff. I did notice I am going to need to block this sooner than later because this is knit in for a couple reasons. The first one is that this is knit in half fisherman's rib or half brioche, whichever you want to call it. I'm not sure. I think functionally there's a different. This one you are knitting into the stitch below. You're not doing yarn overs, so I think it's half fisherman's rib. Don't quote me on that. But functionally it's the same fabric. And this half fisherman's rib does grow a lot, and I need to kind of tell where I'm going to want to start the ribbing at the bottom. And the other thing is this is knit in Holst Supersoft. So I've not pre-washed this yarn. The very beginning of it was ripped out from, my God. The very beginning of it was ripped out from another sweater that I had like temporarily blocked just to see how the color work was turning out, and I ended up ripping that out. So the very start of this has been washed, and it's a little bit softer, but Holst Supersoft has a lot of spinning oil in it. So I know that when I wash this, one, it's going to grow because of the pattern fabric, and two, it's going to fluff up a lot, and I'm very excited for that, just because all that spinning oil is going to come out of this this yarn. So probably before the next time I see you, this will have been blocked on the needles still, and we'll see when I need to start knitting the bottom cuff. I don't want this cropped. I also don't want this too long. I just want a normal like hit me at the hip bone sort of length. So one modification that I did make from this is that all of the ribbing is 2x2 in her sample and in the pattern. And I just switched that to a 1x1 because I think it looks better with the 1x1 fisherman's rib. So that's why that looks like that. And I plan to do the exact same thing on the sleeve and the sweater body rib as well. The other thing is I did the tubular cast on in the main color is Jasper of Holst Supersoft, and I love it. It really, being able to knit this places outside my living room has shown me that like in natural light it has even more little flecks of color. I really don't know if it's coming across. It's probably not, but it's like a deep purpley color, and then it has little like frosts of blue and some like brown, almost gold in some places. Like it's just really pretty. It's got a lot of depth to it, and I love that. And then this light blue is called Iced, and I just thought it was a nice little pop to do for just the tubular cast on. And then on the sleeves and the bottom hem, I'm going to do my sewn bind off, or my tubular bind off, just the sewn part, not the setup rows, in that color as well. So I think that's going to look really nice. I am debating possibly picking up, like there's one row of just like straight knitting before you switch from the ribbing of the collar to the brioche / half fisherman's of the body. And I'm debating picking those stitches up, ripping out the collar as is, and then knitting it up and binding it off instead of having this cast on, because I don't know, when I wash it, it may smooth out a little bit, but right now I just don't think I did it quite neat enough. And I would like it to really match the cast off edges of the rest of the body. So that'll be a very end of the project thing. Just something that I'm thinking about now. Oh, I'm so excited for this. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on in my like just random little interspersed bits of time. And hopefully it will look cleaner next time you see it. The last whip that I have, and this one does have kind of a sordid past, and I really shouldn't do the thing that I'm thinking about doing with it, but this is the eyelet cowl by Purl Soho. And as you can see, it doesn't look like it's very far along, but this is a substantial amount of knitting. This is 448 stitches on, I don't even know what size needle this is. These are Knit Picks fixed needles, and they do not etch their sizes into these, but small needles, lace weight yarn. This is the La Bien-Aimée Felix base, and I have this, which is the Hella colorway, and then there's another one that's Avon. It's French. It's like a nice, almost natural light gray, and basically this is going to be the side that you see. Really, you see this side of it. This is the reverse stockinette side, because you're going to knit like 11 inches of this and then fold it over and knit identical to this, but with little eyelets interspersed, and so you can just see through. And it's a free pattern, so highly recommend it. I have cast this on 4 times. I did it in this color the first time I cast it on, 448 stitches, and then I thought I had done it wrong, so I got rid of that and I cast on in the other colorway. And then I realized, no, I was right the first time, so I got rid of that. And then the third time, yeah, this is the 4th time, because the 3rd time I twisted my stitches and I realized it after about an inch of knitting. So this is the 4th time I've actually cast this project on. Nothing is wrong with it. It takes forever. I do want the finished product. I love this yarn. But here's the deal. I have a friend, 2 friends really. One friend I've known longer, but they are getting married. And they are having the coolest wedding theme I think I've ever heard. I don't know if I'm cool enough to get it, but They are doing a Bridgerton fairy core wedding in summer. And I would love for nothing more than to make them some like Bridgerton lace shawls, like Regency era lace, particularly maybe like a spangly pattern of sorts that they could wear for this. They also are trying to kind of make things like lesbian flag colored, and so like some bright oranges, purples, pinks. I think this would be such a beautiful shawl, and I'm not going to buy another skein of this because this is probably one of the more expensive yarns that I've ever bought. And I don't know. No, I can't sacrifice this. I'm just going to keep trucking on it in my spare time. But something like this in like a spangly shawl situation, that might be on my needles very soon. I did say absolutely no pressure, but I'm also not going to knit something that they really don't have any interest in, so waiting to hear from them before that decision actually occurs. That is all my whips. I have 3 whips. One of them should be finished soon. 2 of them are going to take forever, but I think that most of my knitting efforts are probably going to go to that Birch for the time being. Who knows? I might finish the body and then get stuck on Sleeve Island, and then it ends up back in the just never-ending whip pile. So we'll see how that goes. I was planning, and I think my next cast on will be with this Refine Cascade Yarns, 75% Superwash Merino wool, 20% nylon, 5% viscose. Because I really wanted to make a t-shirt with this, and I had a couple patterns that I had tossed around the idea of casting on probably a month ago at this point. And I love this yarn. And my size 6 needles are free again. I was using them for the body of that Elton, which is why I didn't cast on when I had like severe cast-on-itis for this. But I think, especially since I finished that Elton and it's still like 35 degrees Fahrenheit outside, I can probably wait a little bit longer to have this knit t-shirt, and I think it'll be really good like warm weather knitting also. So I think I'm going to prioritize getting my Birch off the needles first. So much knitting, so little time. But yeah, that is everything I've got for you today. If you like this podcast, feel free to give me a thumbs up, subscribe. If you want some pattern hauls, I've put out a couple recently, one for some scrappy patterns, one for sport weight garments, and those take a long time to edit, so I probably won't be doing a pattern haul this week, even if I do put out a video this next week. But they were a lot of fun, and I've got more ideas for things that I want to knit now. Thank you for sticking around today. This will probably be the last time that I podcast in this space. I think I'm going to go podcast in the other room for the next 1 and 2 weeks. And then I'll be in a new house after that. So that's very exciting. But yeah, if you have any like fun Regency lace patterns that you think would look good in a bright color, definitely send them my way. I'm curious how many whips other people like to have active at each given time, because prior to starting this podcast, and prior to whatever possessed me to cast on just a bunch of very fine weight patterns all at once, I'm traditionally a 2 whip person. I have my garment whip and I have my to-go whip, which is usually a sock or a hat. And that's about it. So this is a lot for me. But yeah, how many whips do you like to have active at any given time? And how do you focus on them if it's more than a couple? Because I feel like they just don't get any love if I have more than 2. Anyway, have a good week. I hope that you're knitting something that makes you happy. Thanks for coming by today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.